Okay, folks, it's your buddy Mike Messier, The Housemaid, a movie I just saw last night. So this is not quite instant, but instant enough for our purposes. Mike's into movie review. Saw the movie last night. I taped Thursday night football, and was able to watch Thursday night football at my leisure on my time. That's one thing I do like about modern society. There's DVDRs and stuff. Of course, there's a giant plane overhead as I'm discussing this, which annoys me. But I do kind of like the sound of planes and trains. I don't live, and I don't think I've ever lived in an area where the sound of a plane or a train was overwhelming, although that one is. So I don't know if something's going on. I mean, something's always going on. Let's talk about this movie as if the plane would shut the hell up. So, what's this movie all about? Well, it's the beautiful two actually actresses that are quite beautiful. Amanda Seyfried, if I'm saying her name right. I did enjoy Amanda in a series, The Dropout, about that company with the blood tests and the woman who went to jail. So she's a very talented actress. She's been around for a while. I believe she started as a kid actress. I can't remember what she was in as a child, but she's been around for a while. And Sydney Sweeney, and there was a show I believe on HBO. Her and the one with the Zendella. It was a movie about these high school girls that were drugs and sex and all types of things. I never really watched that show. I know everyone was all excited about it. I don't watch these streaming shows that everybody gets all excited about. Eventually, I watched some of them. I got through Veep. I enjoyed Veep and so forth. But anyway, Sydney Sweeney is actually a good actress. The first time I can remember watching a full Sydney Sweeney movie was the thing that she did with the strapping guy from Top Gun Maverick, Anyone But You, which was a romantic comedy. And I thought Sydney Sweeney, I think she's kind of in this weird trap, which I'll talk about now. I thought I'd save this for later, but she's in this weird trap where she's obviously a very attractive woman, and she's not afraid to kind of cash in on her looks or use her looks to her advantage or what people perceive to be her exterior beauty. I think she's even said that so much in interviews. She has done, risque roles, obviously, but I don't think anything too crazy. I mean, there's been other actresses that did more in terms of, you could say, gratuitous nudity or nudity that was pertinent. No, a word I don't use every day. Pertinent to the role. Kate Winslet comes to mind. She had like a whole streak of movies after Titanic when she was nude in just about everything. But I mean, Sydney Sweeney, the trap here for her is that she knows she's the hot ticket item now, and that people kind of want to see her in these kind of popcorn, salacious movies, a little bit of skin, a lot of cleavage, and so forth, looking good, looking great. And but she has a limited time, as everyone does, to cash in on these looks. And this is not me making this up, but someone like a Brad Pitt, who's pushing, I think he's past 60, and other male actors, can kind of pull on the Clint Eastwood or whoever can play that male card, that men don't age quite in the same way as starlets. And I think that, Sydney knows this. She knows she's against the clock. Father Time is undefeated and so forth. So I think she's trying to get these big roles when she can, trying to work a lot. And here's where the problem is, you folks. You are the problem. I actually wanted to see Christy, her movie, in the theater. Sydney Sweeney was playing Christy Martin, a female boxer, really a pioneer for female boxing back in the 90s. Before Ronda Rousey in UFC, there was Christy Martin in boxing. I wanted to go see that movie in the big screen, and within a couple of days, it went from 7 p.m., 9 p.m. screenings to suddenly it was only on the big screen near me, 2 o'clock, 12 noon. And sob story short, I was not able to see the movie Christie as I wanted to in the theater, in the movie theater. So who do I blame for that? I blame you, because other people were not buying tickets to this movie. I did not get to see it. Okay. So that upsets me. That offends me. Hopefully the audio is working on this thing, by the way. Am I getting audio on this or not? It's just frustrating to me. I don't know if I'm getting the proper audio. I don't know what's going on. Let's see. Oh, I think I'm getting proper audio. So, Sydney Sweeney, she knows she has to cash in on her looks while she's still young. She knows she has to do as many movies as she can and make a huge empire for herself, a little Sydney Sweeney universe. And maybe she gets, and I think she's already producing movies and so forth, which, if you know anything about how Hollywood or how film world works, it's just a contractual thing. They're not really sitting there doing the legwork. They're putting their name on a few papers, maybe taking some deferred pay in order to get points, as the kids say. So they know what they're doing. But I mean, I like Sydney Sweeney. I think she's fine. The whole thing with her in the American Jeans commercial from last summer, I thought that was a crock. Just people looking for fires where there's no smoke. Absurd, ridiculous. Leave Sydney Sweeney alone. That being said, I think it's unfortunate because when she does make a choice like the movie Christie, nobody goes to see it, and I wanted to see it. I didn't get a chance to see it because it was in and out of the theater too soon. So this Housemaid movie comes along. If you remember movies from the late 90s, like Unlawful Entry, stuff like that, that was a good movie with Madeline Stowe. If you remember movies that kind of like a Friday night, Saturday night suspense, adult suspense movie with sexy adult actors. This is kind of in that vein, okay? This feels like a movie that maybe not made for teenagers. It's kind of made for young people like 20s or 30s or whoever wants to see it. But it's definitely an adult film with adult themes, but it's not, obviously it's not pornography, obviously it's not obscene. It's, I wouldn't even say it's pushing any boundaries or any edges. What's the setup? I mean, in the title, the housemaid, there is a housemaid. That's the Sydney Sweeney character. She's brought into this home by the Amanda Seyfried character, who's this blonde, wispy woman who has a lot of money. And she basically hires the housemaid to be a housemaid. And the big secret we learn early on, and there is some voiceover in this movie that's probably not necessary. The housemaid has made up her whole resume. She's actually a person who's served time, we hear, or she's been serving some type of sentence. We don't know if it's a psychiatric hospital or a prison. And so we're kind of given this little setup, and we kind of feel like, oh, the housemaid's going to do some dirty stuff. Like she's going to get into the house, she's going to try to woo the lady's husband. We meet the husband. He's this big strapping guy, this Fabio with a haircut that everyone's all the little housewives in this rich community are all excited about. But basically, the movie takes some obvious turns. Like there's some turns in this. There were some that are not so obvious, but a lot of them were. Like when the movie starts, you're like, oh my god, the housemaid, she's going to disrupt this family. She's going to take over the wife role. She's going to try and turn the husband against the wife. And then we kind of realize, actually, within a scene, they change it up. And this is where it was pretty interesting. Oh no, the wife is crazy. The wife is mentally ill. She has brought this poor housemaid in here to do things, to manipulate. And we as the audience are basically cheering for the housemaid to hook up with the husband. Now, there's some holes already. I wouldn't say kind of holes in the plot, but I mean, I guess as the plot's revealed, they're not really holes. It's, would any woman in her right mind hire someone that looks like Sydney Sweeney to be their housemaid around their strapping husband? No. But of course, there's an agenda there. And they do the old cliche of, oh, the housemaid wore glasses to her job interview. So you couldn't see how hot she was because she was wearing glasses. Okay. So that's like the what was it? Not Another Teen Movie that made fun of that. Like the gorgeous girl puts on the glasses and suddenly nobody wants to talk to her, but she takes off the glasses. Oh my god! So we kind of know that, but then as it's revealed, that all makes sense. I guess I will get into Spoilerville here in a moment, so be prepared. But before we go there, um, the acting in this thing was fine. The cinematography was fine. It's a relatively simple movie to film. You're basically in an expensive house, not even the suburbs, but like rich people neighborhood. It's nothing was out of the ordinary to film. There is a child actress in this movie. I thought the child actress did a nice job. She did good work, if not great work. That's another thing that came up later. But I guess I'll get into Spoilerville. The whole thing with the husband, I saw it coming a mile away. Now, if you've seen this movie by now, you know what I'm talking about. Lo and behold, it's the toxic male energy which is behind this whole thing, the gaslighting, the abusive husband, the abusive male. Of course, he's a great looking guy, but of course, he's abusive. And he's very abusive. And it's a thing where there's a scene in this thing where this bad guy husband, who's revealed as the bad guy, he's forced these two women to either pluck their hair out of their head or in the Sydney Sweeney housemaid character spot, he's forced her to literally cut 21 slices in her stomach. And it's pretty. I actually went to the restroom during that scene. I didn't want to see this situation of this poor woman having to stab herself with a fucking broken dish. But basically, it's like, okay, that's like the Nexium cult. If you've heard of the Nexium cult, which there's been some documentaries on them, kind of like a Scientology group, like a horrible cult. So this type of human, abuse is not made up. There is stuff going on like this, unfortunately. It's made up for this movie, but it's not made up in general. So it makes you sad. And the whole plucking of the hair of the head thing, it's just real mental abuse stuff. So this movie basically goes, I don't use this term normally, low hanging fruit. Low hanging fruit. That's another term people use. But I guess it kind of is low hanging fruit. It's like, okay, here's this husband character, this swashbuckling, strapping man. He's abusive towards women in really sick ways. And so the only way to teach this guy a lesson is to be just as abusive towards him. And he's got all the doctors, the psychiatrists, the police are all on his side for the most part because he's the big strapping rich guy. So the only way to get back to him or get back at him is to play his own game of vigilante justice. Now, I'm not crying about it from a moral standpoint. I'm crying about it from a film standpoint because we've seen all these things before. We've seen all these elements before. The burning bed, Farrah Fawcett, just you watch. I'm watching this movie last night. By the fucking way, people talk about girl power and women loving women, but there was basically three people in the movie theater last night. Me and two other single men, all sitting separately. Like we all sat as far as away from each other as possible. When I got into the theater, there was one dude sitting in the handicap role. He wasn't handicapped, but this motherfucker had like his shoes off, his fucking socks off. He had like long, elongated toes. Like, what the fuck, dude? Like, I mean, for me, I might take my shoes off, but at least I'll wait till when the movie starts. Like, I'll even give it a buffer, but I will leave my socks on. You know what I mean? This fucker was like doing his laundry in this goddamn movie theater. So I was sitting away from him. I got my ticket in the back row, and there was like a guy, like basically 3 seats over from me, who was trying to do like the centered back row cool guy thing. I'm doing the back row left corner guy thing, and I was too close to him. So I moved up a row from that asshole so I could have a whole row to myself. Then a buffer row, and then foot guy, and then the 2 rows in the front that nobody sits in. So anyway, if women were supportive of other women all the time, like we've been told, where were they? They weren't watching the Sydney Sweeney, Amanda Seyfried film. I'll tell you that much. Yes, I will see Avatar. Yes, I wanted to see it last night, but I saw this instead. Moving forth in this review. So the child is actually pretty informed about everything. And yet the child, there's a point where like this Amanda Seyfried rescues her daughter. They're sitting in this diner, and it's not even her biological father. It's like this pseudo adopted father, but the kid hates the father anyway, or sort of. There's like a lot of conflicting stuff there because sometimes the daughter character seems really enamored with her stepfather, and there's other little hints that she knows exactly what's going on. So that was inconsistent. I'm not blaming the actress, I'm blaming the script. Like, it's a plot hole where the little girl at times makes these references to stepdad being a bad guy, but then at other times she's kind of fawning all over him like everybody else. Uh, what else? um, yeah. Okay. Here's the big thing. As far as the antagonist, the husband, the bad guy, if he's this materialistic and he's this sick and everything, even in a sicko, even in a bad guy, you try to put like some reasoning. Like, he can't just do things randomly, right? Like, in order to be effective villain, he's got to have a pattern, even if it's not the traditional pattern of thought. There should be a pattern that we can follow to make sense of this thing. But if he's really that materialistic, or that concerned with materialism, or surface level stuff, why is he having the women in his life destroy their looks or damage their looks? And the Amanda Seyfried character, the wife, so to speak, why is he having her pluck her own hair out of her head? You would think if this guy is so materialistic and cares what other people think about everything, he would want his wife to be as pretty as possible. Why is he having her give herself a hair plucking? Even furthermore, once he replaces her with the second woman, with the Sydney Sweeney character, or in the story, the third woman, why is he having her scratch up her belly, destroy her stomach with these carvings? And what was the significance of the 21? Was there a significance to the 21 cuts or to the 100 hair plucks? Why is he having her make herself look? Do I have audio, by the way, for the one person that's walking? Can you just type in, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear what I'm saying? So why is he having her carve into her belly? We don't know the answer. Okay. So just plot holes. What else? Another thing I've seen recently, it was all her fault, which was like a Netflix or a Hulu thing or whatever. That was really good. But similar to that is this new modern day cliche with films and television, which is there's some crime. The crime is justified. We're cheering for the criminal in these movies. And there, of course, the fear is, oh my God, am I going to go to jail? Am I going to get caught? Blah, blah, blah. And the big savior for all these films is the cop who looks the other way. Like the cop who's been following all this madness, but the cop, and I don't think cops do this a lot in real life. I'm sorry. I could be wrong. But the cop makes a judgment call that, no, I'm going to let it slide. You were justified in killing that person. You were justified in doing that crime. Same thing with the that show. She's the one to blame, it's all her fault. That the cop, after doing all this research and all this hard work, decides that, you know what, I'm going to let you go. You're good. You're good. I'm going to let you go. And the cop always has to, like a Scooby Doo villain, the cop always has to like go through and let you know that they know what you did. Like, they want to hold that over on you, or it's really just for the audience's sake. Cause this is like a nice quick wrap up. Like, oh, the cop knows, the cop figured it out, but the cop is making a moral judgment call to let it slide. And in this one, the female cop at the end, it just so happens that her sister was an earlier victim of the husband guy before the movie started. What a nice, easy way out of this thing. We never, unless I'm forgetting something, we never really get a reference to who did the housemaid take out. Like, she's supposed to be a killer in her own right. We never get word of who she killed or whatever happened there. That's just kind of thrown in. And then she basically is now going to be the new housemaid in charge of the neighborhood, killing off abusive husbands. I wasn't surprised at the end of the movie when it says directed by Paul Feig. I could be wrong. Is he the guy? It was Esterhaus and Feig. Weren't they the Showgirls combination, like the producer directors behind Showgirls? There's this other thing, folks. Maybe you've noticed, maybe you haven't, where these kind of female empowerment movies with like the evil men, they all seem to be directed by men. it always seems to be like some guy, like in this case, Paul Feig or Showgirls with Esther House. It's always some male guy who has like guilt over being a male, or he thinks like he thinks that a woman thinks like a man in terms of revenge. Like, okay, this guy was abusive, so the woman's going to be more abusive. This is like the way that a man would implement his thoughts into a woman. I'm not saying I know any better. I'm just saying I noticed this. Like, whenever it's this woman, Basic Instinct or whatever the fuck movie where it's like some woman taking control of her sexuality and doing to men what they've done to her for decades. It's always a guy directing it. That's the fucking imagination of these male directors, is they always think that the women are bloodthirsty, vengeance minded like men. And they're all going to use their sexuality to their advantage, as well they should. I'm not saying that makes a bad movie. I'm just saying it's a cliche. We've seen this pony ride a few thousand times at this point. So Paul Feig, like I said, when I saw his name, I'm like, isn't he one of those guys? Basic Instinct, Showgirls, whatever the fucks. In other words, this movie is like a lot of movies you've already seen. Is it fun? Yeah. Are the women attractive? Of course. Can you hear me, by the way? I just don't think that if you're looking for some original work of cinema, this movie is not going to do much for you. If you're looking for a fun 3 out of 5 star movie, it's fine. All right, folks. God, I can't breathe. I can't talk. I'm going to get off this thing, MikeMessier.com. I have plenty of Mike's Instant Movie reviews. Hopefully this thing recorded audio, and I didn't just talk on here for 22 minutes like a complete asshole. Oh, God. Jesus H.